Hey everyone! Hey Alan, hey Brett, hey Bob, hey Martine, how are you guys doing? Thanks for joining me today. I hope everyone can hear me okay. I've been trying to resolve that echo issue that we had last time. Fortunately, it's just me today. So hey Tim, we shouldn't have any issues with echo today. You might hear some blips and bloops as the chat things are going by here on screen. Speaking of which, hi everyone in the chat room. If you have any questions, try to preface it with a Q or the word question or something like that, and I'll keep an eye on that and hopefully be able to find it. It is just me today. As I said in the email, I'm hoping to keep this quick for everyone. We went a little bit long last time. I'm trying to keep it quick. I want to do these updates once a month just to kind of let you know what's going on with Macstock, and especially as we get closer and closer to Macstock weekend in July. All right, so today's topics are going to be the latest statistics, an update on Macstock's venue and hotels, a little update on the venue, big updates on the hotels, where we stand with Macstock safety protocols. Remember, we're still 4 months away from Macstock, and a little sneak peek at who signed up to present at Macstock VI. So that's going to be exciting too. First, a reminder, I don't think I really emphasized this enough last time. Macstock states. I mentioned it briefly last time, but I don't think I really put an emphasis on when it's supposed to be held this year. So we have got the conference center reserved for July 23rd and 24th, 2022. It is, again, the Luke Conference Center at McHenry County College. If you've been to Macstock before, you know where it is, you're familiar with it. And I think that was important to me. I wanted to make sure we had some consistency this year while things are still kind of cattywampus. So having it at McHenry County College is good. Everyone's familiar with it. You know the layout of the place, and you know what to expect when you walk in the doors each morning. As you noted, it was 2 days. We were hoping to do 3 days for Macstock 6. It's just not going to work out. I talked about that last time. I'm not going to dwell too much on it this time, but Macstock 6 will be 2 days, July 23rd and 24th. Check-in will begin each day at 8 a.m., just like we have in years past, and we're going to wrap up each day by 6 p.m. So fairly long days. Now the start time each day is a little up in the air at the moment. We're still going to have check-in at 8, but I mentioned to someone yesterday, I was thinking about this, I still need to play with the schedule a little bit so that I can see how many talks I can actually schedule throughout each day, primarily without causing any traffic jams on stage. And I also want to make sure that we can do it safely, and stick with our safety protocols that we have in place for Macstock this year. If possible, now this is going to be a little bit of a change. If possible, I'm going to make every effort I can to ensure that all talks, every single talk, deeper dives and the 20-minute talks, are on the main stage. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but primarily that's because of the safety protocols that we're going to have in place this year for Macstock 6. Okay, so with that said, why don't we go ahead and talk about some of the local statistics. This is where we started last time, and I want to be sure to give you an update on that because things are actually looking a little bit better. So I'm going to switch over here to my screen, and we are going to have to refresh. We're going to have to refresh our screen here. This is the Georgia Tech site. They like to disconnect you. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh that. Or not. Let's just do a good old-fashioned refresh on the site and see what that gives us. Hey, there you go. All right. And we're going to let them see where we are located. Oh, I know why that wasn't working, because my eCam was getting in the way. That's why it wasn't working. Okay, here we go. Now I can allow it. All right. So this is what we looked at last time, and it's one of the resources that I use to determine what we need to do to keep Macstock safe for everyone. So if you'll remember, let's see, right up here is McHenry County. Let's zoom in on that a little bit more. The current risk level, McHenry County, with a 50-person event, that's the default event size for, I'm going to get all these eCam windows out of the way. They're really getting in the, all right, there we go. This is a 50-person event size, which is the default size. I'm going to bump this up to a 100-person event, which is a little bit closer to what we're expecting from Macstock this year. And you can see that in McHenry County, the current risk level is at 35%. Remember last time we were at 99%. We were pushing 100%. What this risk level means is the chance that someone else in attendance will be COVID positive. Okay, so the current risk level has dropped precipitously since last time. We were at 99, we're now at 35, and even if I play with the ascertainment bias, which if you'll remember from last time, this is an assumption that the number of cases is 3, 4, or 5 times greater than what's being reported. So even if I play with these numbers and I bump that to 5, which we didn't even do last time, we go up to 42%. So we're still at a 50 plus percent drop, 57% drop from where we were last time, just a month ago, 5 weeks ago. So this is good news. This is good news for Macstock in general. It's good news for all of us in general, especially in this area. Now, as we zoom out, you can see that there are still some parts of the country that are up in that 75 to 99 or greater than 99% chance. Now, we do have attendees. Actually, this is new. If you look at Vermont, almost the whole state is bumped to 99%. Oh, wait, we're still at, let's go back to the normal for ascertainment bias. Okay. Vermont, this has actually gone up in the last couple days since I looked at this last time. And Kentucky is still a little high up on the eastern part of the state. We still have some areas of California that are higher. And we have to remember as we look at this that there are folks coming to Macstock from all over the country. So that's something that I'm keeping in mind as we talk about safety protocols a little bit later in the episode today. The other thing I've been using, and this is relatively new, oh, by the way, a 100-person event, Georgia Tech is equating that to something like a wedding, a movie theater, that type of thing. And if you know Macstock's venue, McHenry County College, the conference center there, it is laid out similarly to a movie theater. So it's that type of environment that we have there. It's not a ballroom. It's an auditorium type seating there. So we're kind of right in the right range here. I said last time I was going to cap Macstock at around 125, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. That's still pretty much the case, but 100 is as close as I can get without bumping to 500. All right. The other thing I'm using are these new stats from the CDC. Now, these look pretty good. These are the community levels by county map. And this is prevention steps that you should take based on your COVID-19 community level. We have anywhere from low, medium to high. High is wearing a mask indoors in public, staying up to date with vaccines, etc. Medium is if you are at risk, you should consider taking greater precautions like wearing a mask indoors, staying up to date with your vaccines. And low is just simply staying up to date with your vaccines and getting tested if you have symptoms. Okay, so What we're dealing with here is a lot of green, which is great. I love to see that. Hey, Marty. Um, yes, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and pop his message up here. Excited we may be going in person. Yes, that is the goal. That is the goal to do an in-person event this year. And that's why we're spending a lot of time talking about where we're at in terms of the statistics. Thanks, Marty. Can't wait to see all you guys again, too, by the way. All right, so back to our CDC community levels by county. It looks similar to what we were just looking at with the risk assessment tool from Georgia Tech. Eastern part of Kentucky, little chunks of California, Arizona, Vermont. Um, Lots of green though, which is great. As Martine says, green is my favorite color. Yes, it's getting to be my favorite color too. Although I have to say, I've always looked good in green, so doesn't explain why I'm wearing black today, but All right, so these are looking good, and we can click on any one state, and I'll put links to all this in the notes for today's episode and the replay of it, so that you can check this stuff out yourself. But you can see that McHenry County, we're low. Just a week ago, Illinois was almost half yellow and orange, and now we're looking great, really, really great. And I like that. I do, again, have to keep in mind Macstock is not a local event. We do invite folks from everywhere to attend. So that's why when I think about the safety protocols, I'm looking everywhere and not just at where we're at in McHenry County. No, Marty, green is not the color scheme for this year's Macstock. I'm still toying with that. We'll know by April. We'll know what the color scheme is by April. Okay. Daily new cases in Illinois. All right. So this is interesting. Now, last time I misspoke. I said McHenry County. That's not the case. These are the daily new cases in Illinois. Now, there's just a couple things I want to point out here, and then we'll move on. One, I just refreshed this before the live stream began. March 13th seems to be the latest. We're at 775. Where are we? 775. 775 newly confirmed cases on March 13th. Now, that's way better than where we were in early January and late December, obviously. It's way better than where we were in November. Let's see, this would have been 2020, because this does go all the way back to March 17th, 2020, as we're looking at this. If we go back to where we were in July, we're under where we were in July of 2020. This was the first year we canceled. We're under where we were in July 2021, the second year we canceled. We're not that much under it. Things are looking fantastic, but I just want to put it in perspective that where we are today in relation to where we were in July of 2021 and 2020, statistically, it's not a whole heck of a lot different than, well, let's say December of 2020, or even December and January of 2021 and 2022, which was awful. So I just wanted to point that out. That's where we are in Illinois. I'm not going to cover any other states. I did want to go back to the Georgia Risk Planner, or Georgia Tech Risk Planner, for just a moment, though, because there is something that's a little concerning to me, and that is the recent uptick of cases in Europe. And Martine, maybe you can answer this a little bit better than I can, but when I look at the global risk estimates, it's interesting that it's Europe. I'm going to bump this to a 100-person event, and you can see that Europe and the UK, Greenland, Finland, Norway, we're looking at a lot of red. And this is, there's been an uptake uptick in cases in Europe. And of course, we've had, as you've seen in the news, and if you've recently ordered new Apple equipment, you've certainly been paying attention to this, the shutdowns in China. So these are a little concerning to me because in the past, historically, it seems as if the U.S. has kind of followed Europe in this trend, which I certainly hope is not the case this time. The thought that occurs to me is, have we learned nothing from the morning show? But I'm really hoping this doesn't happen. I'm hoping the U.S. doesn't follow in this trend with the numbers being up in Europe. But more importantly, I do hope that all of our friends in Europe begin to see cases come back down again too. Now, Martine says numbers are a little up, but we don't have mask mandates. Okay, hospitals still can handle it. Okay, well that's good news. That's really good news. I am a little concerned about this. This was not this red just a week or so ago. So it is, again, one of those things I'm keeping an eye on. Not because we have a lot of visitors. We do have some. We have a fair number. Not because we have a lot of visitors coming from Europe, but because historically I've seen, and this is not scientific by any way, shape, or form, but I've seen the U.S. kind of follow in the footsteps of Europe in that uptick of cases. So it is something I'm keeping an eye on. Okay, enough of that, because this still looks good, and I like that. Let's keep trending in that direction, folks. All right, I'm going to switch back to me here for a second, and if you bear with me, I'm going to get a little drink of water here. Okay, let's go on to an update on the hotels. Now, as I found out, yeah, that's a good point here. Let's go ahead and add Martine's comment here. This is what he said just a couple moments ago. Numbers are still a little up. We don't have a mask mandate. Hospitals still can handle it. And then Tim mentioned a good point. If you've had COVID or been vaccinated, the risk of serious illness remains low, which is why hospitals can handle COVID patients. Yeah, absolutely true. I'm not a doctor, but that's true as I understand it. Okay, hotels. So where we're at there is it turns out many of the hotels in the area are getting booked up really quickly because summer activities are coming back. So what's happening here is, we've always tried to consolidate everybody as best we could at the Hampton Inn in McHenry. Unfortunately, there's a big event that takes place or had been taking place every year in McHenry, and they shifted their dates this year. I'm not quite sure why they shifted their dates, but they shifted their dates this year, and they reached out to the hotel first and got a big block of rooms from them before we could. Now, we are still able to get a block of rooms at that hotel. We've got, at the moment, we're still finalizing the details. At the moment, we've got a block of 25 rooms reserved there. And then additionally, I've been reaching out to the other hotels in the area. The Comfort Inn in Crystal Lake looks like they're going to be able to give us 10 to 15 rooms, somewhere in that range. We're still working with them on that. And the Quality Inn in Woodstock, which I learned was just recently remodeled, which is awesome. Looks like they're going to be able to give us 20 plus rooms as well. So we're getting some room blocks together. All of these hotels are just a few minutes from McHenry County College. The bad news is that there are no shuttles available this year from any of the hotels. So keep that in mind as you make your reservations. Keep that in mind as you make your plans as you come into Macstock for that weekend. You'll need to have a ride or arrange for rides with others. So the room blocks that I'm negotiating right now are going to be made available on the Macstock website just as soon as the weekend passes go on sale. And we'll talk about that again in just a couple moments. Let's see, I did not mention this. A lot has changed since February 8th. One of the things that's changed is that Illinois and most other states have dropped their indoor mask mandate. Illinois was effective February 28th, March 1st, beginning of the month. They dropped the indoor mask mandate in the state. And again, it's all that green we're seeing, which is awesome. Locally, things are looking fantastic, so Illinois felt comfortable dropping the indoor mask mandate. Along with that, now we're talking about Macstock's venue, McHenry County College. Last time I mentioned that the college still had a mask mandate in place. Along with the state of Illinois, MCC has dropped their indoor mask requirement as well, effective March 1st. Now, at the moment, that's not going to affect Macstock's safety protocols and how we're running things, which we'll talk about in just a second. Last time I mentioned the availability of socially distanced seating. Okay, so let's talk about that. You guys are going to get to see, you're going to get to see my wonderful, not so wonderful planning tool I've been using here. Let me switch over to this. You're going to see why I'm laughing in just a second. Okay. This is my wonderful planning tool. What year was it? I'm already losing track. 2019, I took a panorama shot of the auditorium there. So it's kind of squished and moved around a little bit here. But I use this as a tool to try to figure out how we can accommodate socially distanced seating and also accommodate seating for folks who want to sit together, are comfortable sitting together, as well as folks who would like to come, but still feel like, keeping their distances is good. So I was playing with the numbers here a little bit. Let's see, over on the left of the screen here, you see I went through and I counted. I literally zoomed, I used Affinity Photo for this. I literally zoomed in on every one of these and plotted out what might work for socially distanced seating. Now you can see we have 79 seats up in this top left section. We've got 40 in the bottom left section. We've got 52 in the center. We've got 67 in the back center, 79 in the back right, and 40 in the front right. So I went through and figured, okay, we've got 79 seats up here. We've got 40 down here, and we've got a nice block of seats in the center here. Why don't we play with the numbers on the front and back, right and left? So I have two different scenarios here, and really it's the scenario on the right here that I'm more focused on. This is the more recent one, and I'll explain why in just a second, but I started out counting every other seat and every other row. And as I did that on the left here, I ended up with 10 available socially distanced seats up here, which is about, I looked at what other small conferences are doing, and that's about a 3-foot distance, or about as close to a 3-foot distance as I can get. So I thought. And I went through and I made sure that in these sections there were pairs of seats together too, because you might be a couple who would like to maintain distance but still want to sit together. Rightly so. So I tried to take that into account as I went through, and I ended up with 21 distance seats in the back and 10 distance seats in the front here. And then I realized, I was so proud of myself. So proud of myself. Hey, Mike, you did a good job here. Well, I realized that seats are not 3 feet wide. So I went through and redid the count, and it's really not that much different. It's more different in the back than it is in the front. It's only a difference of 2 seats in the front right here. but I went through and made sure to mark off 2 seats to accommodate that 3-foot distance that other conferences seem to be doing when they go to their socially distanced seating, and as well as every other row. And then in the back, what I did is made sure that every row had at least one pair of seats together. And so that's what we did. In the open rows in the back, there's 2 seats, 2 seats, 2 seats, and then we've got individual seats through the rest. And in the front, it's only individual seats. It wouldn't accommodate putting 2 seats together and maintaining a decent count of seats. So that ends up, this is the one that we're probably closest to. That ends up with eight seats in the front, 15 seats in the back, 67 seats in the back middle, 52 in the front middle, and then it would be mirrored over on this side. It would be 15 and 8. Okay. Now, if you're doing the math, which I'm sure you are, you're going to say, but Mike, that adds up to far more than 125 seats. Just now I'm waiting for someone to say, but Mike, that adds up to, yeah, okay, anyway. Yes, it does. It adds up to far more than that because I'm assuming that, folks aren't going to want to sit crammed next to each other in the middle. We do have a little room to grow above that 125, but I don't want to push it too much. So we are looking at sticking to 125 for the time being. And this is roughly what I'm thinking. I'm completely open to suggestions, folks, but the auditorium of the conference center here is somewhat limited in how we can do things like that. Because again, we're not in a ballroom situation like a lot of small conferences are. They rent a ballroom in a hotel and they can set up the seats however they want to. Here we have fixed seats, approximately 350 seats, and we can't move them around. So we're stuck with where they are, and in an effort to include both socially distanced and standard seating, this is what I've come up with. Or as Marty said, we can suspend people from the ceiling. That may be an option. It may be an option. Well, I'll look into it. I'll ask them at MCC and see what they say on that. Okay, so that is the socially distanced seating situation there. All right. Now, protocol updates. Nothing really has changed this month. Remember, we're still 4 months away from Macstock. I came across a quote last week. I don't know how many people follow Disney news like I do. That's one of my other passions, and there certainly has been no lack of Disney news the past week or so if if you follow it. But I follow it, and I saw a very interesting quote from the producer of the new Pixar movie, Turning Red. So there was some brouhaha over the movie debuting on Disney Plus and not in the theaters, and Pixar was a little upset by that. They put a lot of effort into it, and just like we all do, put a lot of effort into the activity, and then to have it only debut on Disney Plus, they were a little upset by that. But the producer made a really interesting comment when they said, if we've learned nothing else over the last 2 years, every time we think we can anticipate what the next 2 months will look like, we're wrong. And I thought, you know what? That's a much better way of saying what I said last time, where I said I felt like a cartoon character that runs into the wall and bounces off and runs into the wall and bounces off. This is a much better way of saying it. Although I will say, now I kind of feel like the cartoon character who runs into the wall, and on the other side of the wall, you see the shape of the cartoon character, but the wall hasn't fallen through yet. So we're making our way through, but we haven't completely gotten through. We're almost there, though. That little mic-shaped piece of wall is just about to fall, and so I'm excited about that. Last month, I announced that I had developed some health and safety protocols. I've mentioned those a couple times now. I'm going to go over them again here, which at this time still means, and again, let's go back to that quote. When we think we can anticipate what the next 2 months will look like, we're wrong. Well, we still have 4 months to go. So we're not going to do what happened with virtual Macstock last year, where we were constantly changing the rules. Like I would change them 1 week, and the next week I'd have to change them again, either for the better or for the worse. We're going to take a slow, measured approach to changing rules for Macstock VI, if we change them at all. So for today's discussion, again, full safety protocols are in effect. That means proof of full vaccination as defined by the CDC, masks covering the nose and mouth, and socially distanced seating sections provided, which we just talked about a moment ago. Now, I had this written out last time, and I didn't want to mention it. I didn't want to get any hopes up. I still don't want to get any hopes up. But if we can get there, there is a possibility that we're going to be able to move to what I'll just call partial safety protocols. And what that would translate to is adjusting that attendance cap slightly. Now, we're not going to lift it, but as you just saw a moment ago, there's still some wiggle room in there. And if the conditions warrant it, we can allow a few more folks in than that 125. And if it works out to Marty's suggestion, we can suspend people from the ceiling. Partial safety protocols would further mean proof of vaccination, which if we go back to CDC and their green, yellow, and orange here, every one of these levels mentions staying up to date with your vaccines as part of the toolkit to help you stay ahead of this thing. Or as we said a moment ago, if you've had it, if you've been vaccinated, that risk of illness remains low. If you do get it, the symptoms are often far less than what they could be if you're not vaccinated or you haven't had it before. So these are all things we're doing to try to keep everybody as safe as possible. And proof of full vaccination is one of those tools that I'm going to keep in place for now. Partial safety protocols would also mean optional masks. There's going to be some folks who are comfortable taking their mask off in an indoor venue and some who are not. So thinking ahead, and again, none of this is final, this is just my thought processes, what might partial safety protocols mean as we get closer? Those socially distanced seating sections that we talked about a moment ago, we would still require masks within those sections, and the open seating section would be masks optional. Again, these are just kind of the things that are rattling around in this empty skull of mine, but that's what I've been thinking partial safety protocols might mean. Okay, so I have been taking a look at what other small conferences are doing. Now, this is kind of funny. It's all over the place, absolutely all over the place. I got a report from Ohio the other day. Someone said they went to a 1,000+ person conference. Masks were, the conference itself said that masks were required, and the report was that nobody was wearing them. I'll tell you that's not going to be the case at Macstock. However, what I am finding is that unlike 2020, unlike 2021, there isn't any consistent plan of action this year. So I'm seeing everything. I am seeing outright cancellations. I am seeing those. I am seeing conferences that are sticking with virtual. And those conferences that are going forward, many of them are listing similar protocols to Macstock. Now, again, I'm not focused on the big conferences. I'm focused on the smaller conferences similar to Macstock in size. But then we also, on the far end of that, we also have conferences that seem to be saying, pandemic? What pandemic? We don't know what you're talking about, this pandemic. So we're all over the place in terms of what other conferences are doing. You know what the plans are for Macstock. I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page as we continue to move forward. So I guess, how is Macstock different from these? Well, in some ways it's not. But one difference that I mentioned a little while ago is that Macstock has that much more intimate auditorium style seating. This is something that the conferences that are taking place in big ballrooms or multiple ballrooms don't have to deal with. They have the opportunity to spread the seating out. They have the opportunity to spread tables out, and that's not something that we can do. So where in some situations there is that ability to provide a more natural, socially distant environment, we're working within the confines of, Marty says they're crazy in Ohio. We're working within the confines of the auditorium seating of the Luke Conference Center. The other thing that occurred to me this morning as I was typing up notes for this is that, on top of that, even though Macstock is a small conference, it feels unique to me in that it attracts visitors from outside the region, not just the US, but as I mentioned earlier, we have folks who visit from Canada and Europe and the UK and Australia, and we've had folks come from all over the place. And as a small conference, Macstock is certainly not alone in that. I've been to other small conferences where there were folks from all over, but it still feels somewhat unique to me. In contrast, many of the other small conferences that I was looking at are targeted. They're hyper local. They're focused on just a particular region of the country. And that's a lot easier to manage than when you have folks coming in from all over the place. And some of these small conferences, what they do too is they host events in multiple cities throughout the country. So in terms of the pandemic, they're working with a population that's more or less going through it together, as it were. Versus as we looked on the map earlier, you could see some parts of Kentucky, some parts of California, Vermont. There are parts of the country that are in a different situation than we are here in Northern Illinois. And certainly, as we saw, then things are going in Europe right at the moment. So, it's, as I said last time, it's a lot easier to plan for a small, hyper-local type event than it is to plan for something that's, 125, 200 persons strong, where people are coming from all over the place. So I appreciate folks bearing with me as we move forward on this. Okay, so that's what other small conferences are doing. That's some of the considerations I've got in mind. The RSVP attendance. I mentioned this last time that I'm going to ask everyone who's purchased a ticket to RSVP to confirm their attendance at Macstock this year. I cribbed this from another conference and I thought it was a really good idea. So in late May, we're going to begin confirming attendance. That's close enough that I think most folks will have a good idea whether they can make it or not at that point. Now we're still a little far out, but by late May, I think folks can start to decide if they're going to be able to make it out here in July. So the RSVP is going to be an opportunity to confirm you're going to be there. One. Lunch preferences. I know everyone indicated those when they purchased their weekend pass or will purchase their weekend pass, but this is going to, again, be your opportunity to do that. As I mentioned last time, the MCC kitchens are closed. In the past, we've always had to use their culinary services. And this year, we're catering food in from outside because we don't have the opportunity to use the culinary services at MCC this year. So I want to reconfirm everyone's lunch preferences so that when I work with these vendors directly, I can assure and ensure both that everyone's preferences are taken care of. It'll also be the opportunity to provide some general feedback on your thoughts on attending Macstock and things like that. Now, here's the important thing, and this is why the RSVP is so important. I've been sitting on a certain number of weekend passes that have been sold for Macstock 2020. Some have been refunded. Most folks have allowed me to carry them forward. And I don't want to sit on those anymore. So by the end of Macstock VI, July 3rd, 23rd, and 24th, by the end of that, no more weekend passes are going to be held over by the end of Macstock weekend. That's it. So either, here's the RSVP is going to be an opportunity to make this decision as well. Either you're going to attend, or you're going to get a refund, or you're going to have an option. I'm still working on the wording for this, but you're going to have an option to donate your ticket to what I'm kind of informally calling a Macstock Scholarship Fund. So what this would be is an opportunity to open up a seat to Macstock for the future. Obviously not this year because we're just making that decision as we're leading up to Macstock, but open up a seat to Macstock in the future for a student or someone else who might not be able to attend but could otherwise benefit from the knowledge that's being shared from Macstock Stage. So what we can offer to somebody will vary, and it'll vary depending on how many folks opt to donate their ticket to that who can't attend. Now, in the past, we've done this. I don't know if everyone is aware of this, but we've done this in the past. And in the past, it has been sponsored. These opportunities have been sponsored by generous attendees who've said they can't make it, and we've decided to donate their ticket to a student or what have you. But we've also had folks attend Macstock who were sponsored by our presenters. So what I'd like to do is, if we do have some funds set aside from folks who've donated to this, I would like to open up an opportunity for presenters and attendees to nominate people who would be good choices to receive a free pass to a future Macstock weekend or something like that. So I'm still kind of working through it, but that would be one of the options that we'll put on the table for folks. If you can't make it and you opt not to get a refund, you can also opt to, donate your ticket, what you paid for your ticket, into this fund so that we can use it for good in the future to help someone attend who otherwise couldn't attend. So that's kind of what my thinking is on that. Oh, thanks, Marty. Marty says that it's a great idea and it speaks to the spirit of grit. I think it does. Macstock has always been about community, and having a fund like that and being able to extend it to members of the community who might not otherwise be able to come is a really good use of those funds. So that's something that I'd like to do if we can. Thanks, Marty. All right, so how are we doing on time? Hey, we're doing pretty good here. We're almost done. The last thing I wanted to talk about is that first round of speakers for Macstock VI. So let me switch over to this is a little fancier, but not quite as crude as my seating. My seating, a little fancier here. I'm going to switch over to who has already said they would like to speak at Macstock VI. All right, let's switch over to that. Right off the bat, you can see we have about 7 folks who signed up to present at Macstock this year so far. Leading the charge are Dave Ginsburg, Allison Sheridan, and Chuck Joyner. They've presented at I believe every single Macstock so far. I don't think any one of those 3 has missed one yet. including virtual Macstocks. If you attended virtual Macstock, if you were able to catch any of virtual Macstocks, Dave was there at my side, making sure everything was running smoothly. Allison and Chuck all jumped in to make sure that they were taking part in the weekend as well. And Chuck, of course, does his Road to Macstock every year too. And I'm thrilled that all three of them have said that they can jump in this year. Next up, we have a brand new presenter to Macstock. I'm very excited about this. He was one of our first virtual Macstock presenters, and that's Jay Miller. Jay was one of the first ones to reach out to me after the February 8th live stream to say that he's looking forward to it, he's eager to be there, and I'm so thrilled to have Jay on stage with us this year. Then, of course, there's Mike Schmitz. Mike, I've not told Mike this, but he has the dubious honor of being the most watched video ever on Macstock's YouTube channel. I mean, like by leaps and bounds. Now, to be fair, he always puts out good topics, but Mike is one of the few talks from the early Macstocks that are on the YouTube channel. Talks from later Macstocks have been put into the digital pass category, so they never made it to the YouTube channel. But in terms of the talks that are on the channel, he is by far the most viewed talk ever, which is awesome. And Dave Hamilton reached out to me after the February 8th live stream and said he was eager to take part as well. And Josh Wrench will be joining us again too. If you missed his talk in, when was that 2019 or 2018? I think it was 2019. I'm losing years, folks. It was fun. He spent a lot of time making sure it was a thrill a minute, literally a thrill a minute talk from stage on Macstock, and I'm looking forward to what he's going to present again. Now, we do have some coming soons down here. These are some folks I have not been able to confirm yet. The person in the middle, I can't give any names or hints. I guess I can say it's someone who reached out to me after the last live stream and said they would like to present. It's someone else who would be new to Macstock Stage. And then the other two, one of whom would be new to Macstock Stage, and one is someone I would really love to have join us again this year. And I'm reaching out to her, and hopefully she'll be able to join us. But I do think, thanks, Martine, he confirmed it was 2019 that Josh was on stage. Thank you. I do feel like this is probably going to be the limit of what we can have this year. This is seven presenters who've confirmed their attendance. Dave, Allison, Chuck, Jay, Mike, and Dave, and Josh, and then three more. And just playing with the schedule so far, I feel like that's probably where we're going to max things out and still be able to fit within the safety protocols that are currently in place. As I said at the beginning, I would like to ensure that all talks are on the main stage. That'll be great for all the deeper dive talks, which we've had some in the breakout rooms and some on the main stage and things. It'd be wonderful to have them all on the main stage. So if I can make it work, this looks like the, Brett says it's like a gender reveal party for the upcoming speakers. Yeah, I guess it is. I didn't put there's pink. I guess there's pink, but I didn't put them in blue and pink. So at least it's not one of those exploding kind of, that blows blue or pink stuff all over the place. But yes, it kind of is, Brett. Thank you. Anyway, so it'll be thrilling to have everybody on the main stage if we can make that happen. So that is where we're at with the presenters so far. And of course, as we get into future live streams, we're going to be talking, I'm going to bring some of them on as guests, and we're going to talk about what their presentations are this year. Because remember too, we changed the theme. When every one of these folks submitted their talk to Macstock 2020, the theme was play. but we changed the theme to rebuilding. So this is their opportunity to readdress the talks that they've submitted and decide if they still want to do that talk as it was submitted, or if they'd like to kind of, rework it and retheme it, if you will, to the theme of rebuilding. And, honestly, I can't think all these folks, with the exception of Jay, who's new, and Josh, who's only spoken on Macstock stage once, I can't think of a better group of folks, including some of these down here, hint, hint, hint. I can't think of a better group of folks who fit better with the theme of rebuilding than the folks on screen right now. So thanks to all of them for reaching out and for wanting to be part of Macstock VI in 2022. So I've been watching your comments go by. Before we wrap up, it's about 10 to 1. We're about 50 minutes in. Before we wrap up, did anybody have any questions about anything I talked about today? Any thoughts on it that you'd like to share? We actually have an opportunity to cover some of your questions now if you'd like to. And if not, then what we'll do, we'll wrap up and we'll reconvene again in April. So I'll look at the chat room here for a second and see if there are any questions coming up. Give everybody an opportunity to tickle their keyboards and Marty, thank you. When will we see ticket sales? Next month. That's the plan. So I'll go ahead and start my closing. Thanks, Marty. Nice lead-in. See, that's a perfect lead-in to the closing. I'm going to keep doing these every month. It's my effort to be as transparent as possible with my decision-making process as we go forward, as we get closer to Macstock VI, as well as with the rules that we're putting in place, the protocols that we're putting in place for attending Macstock. Our next live stream. Thanks, Tim. No question, just looking forward to coming. To Marty's question, when will we see ticket sales? Here, Marty, we're going to put you right up on screen here. Our next live stream will be in April. Now, at the moment, I'm aiming for April 12th, so just about 1 month from now. Now, if something comes up that's unexpected and we need to change it, well, I'll be sure to let you guys know as soon as I can. But if all goes as planned, Marty, then April's live stream is going to be a big one because we're going to announce the ticket sales. We're going to announce talk topics. We're going to announce everything that makes Macstock, and we'll make Macstock VI a fun event for everyone July 23rd and 24th. With those plans in mind, it was true in February, and in a way it's even more true now. Conditions are changing nearly every day. As we were going through the stats, you can see that I was surprised by some of the stats that had changed since just yesterday. So the Georgia Tech stats change on a daily basis. The CDC stats change on a weekly basis. We won't have the next CDC stats. If you guys check out the links that I'm going to put in the notes here, we won't have the next CDC stats until this upcoming Thursday, so 2 days from now. But it'll be interesting to see how they change. So things are changing nearly every single day. And as I said last time, I do know there's still a risk with travel. There's still a risk with large gatherings. And I guess that's why I'm doing my best to keep you guys in the loop as best as I can. And I'm also trying, as I mentioned last time, there aren't any mandated safety protocols. Last time I said I'm trying to exceed all mandated safety protocols, but I am trying to exceed any safety protocols that we could put in place to assure everybody's safety. And not just your safety, but the safety of your families when you go back home, as well as anyone who's close to you. I also understand that there are still folks out there who just aren't comfortable attending in-person events. I get that, trust me. Um, and that's okay. Whether it's Macstock or whether it's a family wedding or whether it's another small conference, some other event, you really have to do what's right for you. You have to do what's right for your family, and you have to do what's right for all those who are closest to you. Um, but I did want to thank everyone for being here today. Thanks to all of you for joining me in the chat room. That was awesome. Thanks for bearing with me. Thanks for bearing with Macstock through all this. And thanks, as I said before, for your support and love. It really does mean the world to me. Um, it means the world to my family. And I just want to tell you all to take care, be safe, and be kind to one another. And we'll talk to you soon. April 12th is my next plan. If there aren't any other questions, I think we'll just wrap things up today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. And again, you know, if you have any questions at all, please reach out to me, Mike at Macstock Conference and Expo. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have as we get closer. In the meantime, exciting news, April 12th, big live stream, and we'll just hope we can keep moving forward from there. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Tim. Stay safe, everyone.